Economic processes, how do they influence the world community and everyday life of people? What trends will be popular among consumers and how will the international markets evolve? For further details, watch the program People and Economy.
Today in the program, who and how helps to develop the youth entrepreneurship? Is it possible to develop a project with zero capital? And what prevents young people from being an entrepreneur? In April 2015 in the US, an international final of GSEA Young Entrepreneurs Contest will be held. The award is sort of an Oscar among the beginning businessmen. Finalists from 46 world countries will compete for the recognition of the Global Business Society and a prize at the amount of $150,000. This year, at the School of the Young Billionaire organized by the Russian Forbes, the most popular startups became those related to health. Each sixth application of contestants was devoted to products and services with a healthy mark. This topic has pressed network projects and communication services, which were so popular among future young billionaires just a year ago. A youth business of Kazakhstan mentoring program has been launched in the Republic within the international program Youth Business International. In its framework, the beginning entrepreneurs will be assisted in finding a senior fellow among the experienced counterparts. You want to help young entrepreneurs? Then give them a fishing rod rather than a fish. That is the main principle on which the effective support of small and medium-sized business in many countries is based. Naturally, young entrepreneurs have a positive effect on the economy. Ideally, no less than 50 or 60% of GDP have to be provided by small and medium business, including those with the participation of youth. That is why, for those who are ready to develop their own business, different governmental and international programs facilitate the access to financial resources, support their innovational developments, and assist in the development of business mentoring. It is being told everywhere that the youth, the progressive part of young people, are the leading power of any country. That is why I think that they have to be supported. They have to be given all the conditions, all the resources available in order to make them peacefully develop their entrepreneurship. Young people are full of energy, they are foremost and they can invent and create a lot of different stuff. So today we have to give them a platform, we have to promote them. Nowadays, when the youth unemployment is the initial problem of the society, business and governments in many countries join their efforts in order to help the young generation. Public policies concentrated on the formation of an environment that would help the youth to take risks, while opening their own business and developing it with the benefit to the society. Many young people get involved in business. As you know, being a young entrepreneur is quite an honorary position. Before one takes such a status, he or she has to pass many paths. I mean that this is not as easy as it may seem, but there is a governmental support of entrepreneurial development, so all the resources are allocated. Experts assure that young entrepreneurs are very optimistic concerning their future. According to the research of Ernst & Young Accounting Company, half of young respondents think that the increase in the role of entrepreneurs in the creation of working places will positively affect the business development during the next 3 years. According to statistics, approximately 300 million young people in the age of 18 to 30 years old all over the globe either don't have the permanent working place or are unemployed. Around 20% of them have excellent abilities for starting their own business, but for various reasons only 5% venture to do so. The main reason is the absence of starting capital. The most important question is how to start a business. Pay attention to the variety and variability of consumer preferences, for example, the Internet. Since the global network has reached its critical mass for the last 15 years, the number of small businesses in the UK has increased from 2.5 million to more than 4 million companies. The whole world in the last 5 or 7 years is undergoing a revolution associated with the development of social networks and electronic marketplace. That is why the young people are able to respond quickly, especially on consumer requests generated online, mastering the production of small-scale, unique products or specific services. According to Ernst & Young research study named the Barometer of Business Activity G20 for 2013, Australia, Canada, South Korea, Great Britain and the United States were marked as countries most favorable for business. At the same time, respondents indicated that the access to finance at various stages of growth remains the most acute problem for 70% of entrepreneurs. There is always a dilemma ranging in front of young people to be or not to be in business. At present, in the majority of countries, there has been some decline in the development of young entrepreneurship. According to statistical data, only 5% of young entrepreneurs in the world open their own business. Fear in front of failures to be become a barrier which is not always so easy to overcome.
Да, безусловно, развиваться стоит.
Yes, certainly it is necessary to develop, but fear will always exist. At the very beginning of any project, is a small or big one. In any case, entrepreneurship is a certain risk. You just need to learn to balance, and what is the most important, you don't have to be afraid.
Просто уметь балансировать.
There is a myth that the new business needs huge investments. Certainly money does matter, but at the same time, as many entrepreneurs assure, personal involvement and the ability to use all available resources are much more important rather than finances, if one wants to reach the goal. If talking about the starting capital as a whole, it depends on a project. I will say we started our project with zero capital. Now we have reached 3 million tenge net income during the first 6 months. When we overcame this step, we also were afraid, how will we be in future without any investments? So we used all the resources. And this is my advice, to use resources all the time. One of the most famous IT entrepreneurs in the world, David Yan, the founder of ABBYY company, thinks that an idea is just a 5% of a success. It is hard to make a useful project from an idea, but it is even harder to provide it to the customer. It is necessary to be able to turn from the initial idea on the end user. For those who are managed to do that, become a real winners. The first thing is a product. Once you have a product, you may start to get ready for problems, because now you have to think where and how to sell it. That is why a reasonable approach to risks is needed. If you take your product and try to sell it running up and down the streets, nobody will buy it. It will mean that you are doing something that is not needed. The question is it necessary to be aware of what you are doing, to check your product all the time in order to be sure that you are doing everything you can to be the best. History of any successful company is first of all a history of a successful team. Idea is nothing without a systematic implementation. Any project must pass through all the stages of the development, from concept itself to a large-scale application. And at any stage there should be self-commitment and cooperation with partners. It's just you need to communicate more. You shouldn't be shy about sharing your idea, like some other people who used to say, I won't tell about my idea to anybody because it is so genius and someday I will try to realize it myself. But the time passes, your idea sort of burns out because many projects alike appear on the market, and that's it. That is why another strategy is needed, to find the right people, talk to them about your idea and ask for their help or advice. Search for a business mentor. According to official statistics, only 20% of young entrepreneurs afford to save business during the first year of its existence. In practice, this figure is even less, no more than 10%. If you want to avoid this, ask business advisors for their help. It is a high time to unite in business. My advice to everybody, pay attention to people around you. If you cannot invent something, it's okay. Anyway, you are good at something else. People just need to unite and create a sort of cooperation. Cooperation is always powerful. One man is good, but two or more is even better. Users of social networks share their advices, feelings and news. The most important is their positivity and a little bit of self-irony in regards to personal business. Get better people around you. Negativity is an optional neighbor. Move, get mentors who have achieved your dreams. They know how to start up. My son Alex and his partner Zuri are just setting up a new business. Please give their brand new page a like to boost morale. Any business is a risk. Startup is a doubled risk. Nevertheless, there are people who are physically not able not to create. The topic of entrepreneurship looks like extreme sports or professions. The question is in quite a big number of risks as in entrepreneurship. This is an extreme occupation, which means that a true entrepreneur can become a bankrupt the next day after starting the business. And mostly this condition is normal. Main problems that interfere with setting up a business among young people in Kazakhstan is the lack of finance, lack of experience and lack of education. Too young age of entrepreneurs can be added to this list because it confuses potential business partners. Thanks to our mentality, we are used to see an aged person who will show something using PowerPoint, using many words and confusing graphics. We usually choose a different approach. We show everything in a very easy way in order to make everybody understand everything. But sometimes we face the problem when people don't believe in us because of our young age. Entrepreneurship is a game with its own rules. However, to the newcomers in business, they do not open immediately. But, as in any game, the harder the conditions, the sweeter is the taste of victory. Everyone who was in the business path from scratch advised not to give up because, as you know, the road is for the walkers. To be an entrepreneur, first of all, means a wish to change something. When you cannot be in some sustained condition and you see that, for example, that thing can be improved, that the quality can become better, the service can be performed faster and so on, then you just start to gather a team and get ready to turn them up and lead forward. Building of your own business is also a sort of a game, but in a reality. Here you are working and you have a strategy. Like in a game, build your city or build your business and reach the success. How much money is needed to open a business? To launch a startup, it is necessary to have on average from 50 to 100,000 US dollars. Here there is an approximate expenditure structure: 35% for founders' salaries, 20% for development, 30% for advertising and promotion, 10% for administrative expenses, 5% for legal expenses. Young entrepreneurs with a great difficulty get an access to traditional sources of financing. Due to the lack of experience and lack of assets, financial institutions evaluate young businessmen as too risky clients, despite the modest amount of their requests. However, this problem can be solved with the help of state-owned financial institutions and public funds. Here the most important governmental function is to create favorable conditions. Certainly there are governmental programs which help entrepreneurs, like co-founding projects where some businessmen get involved. In Saudi Arabia, the Fund of a Century has entered into a partnership with Saudi Savings and Loan Bank to provide initial loans to young entrepreneurs. Moreover, the amount of the loan is impressive. It is about 107,000 US dollars. The same amount can be got by young entrepreneurs in India with the help of government guarantees, which supports credit funds and partnership between the two state-owned banks. In Canada, in the same way, the Fund of Young Business and the Development Bank of Canada are working. Frankly, there the loan amount is no more than 30,000 US dollars. The reasons that some entrepreneurs are successful in business while others fail always aroused interest among different specialists. And after a series of studies, they have identified 3 groups of factors that largely affect the future results. Surprisingly, this list does not include special education or the original business idea. Everything is simple and at the same time natural. Firstly, on the success in business impact skills. Secondly, the personal qualities. And thirdly, the ability to bring the necessary sacrifices for the realization of the plan into action.